My name is Emma. I'm 36 years old. I live in a quiet suburb just outside Columbus, in a third-floor apartment with beige walls and thin floors that echo every sound at night. I work as an accounting assistant for a medical equipment supplier, a job that pays steadily, asks quietly, and never applauds effort. For 8 years, I was also someone's wife. That part ended on a Thursday night, although the paperwork came later. June 12th was supposed to mean something. It was our 8th wedding anniversary. It was also my husband Tyler's birthday. Same day, same age, 36. We used to joke that the universe tied our lives together on purpose. Looking back, I realized the universe did not tie anything. I did. That afternoon, I left work early. I told my supervisor I had a family commitment. She smiled in that polite way people do when they believe love still functions the way it should. I drove 32 minutes through traffic to buy Tyler's favorite red wine. Not the grocery store kind. The one from a specialty shop where the bottles are kept behind glass, and the clerk asks questions to justify the price. I stopped at a butcher shop across town and asked for Wagyu short ribs, even though I had cooked them only once before and burned the edges. I told myself this time would be different. At home, I cleaned everything twice. I wiped a counter that was already clean. I straightened picture frames that no one ever looked at. I laid an ivory tablecloth across the dining table and aligned the silverware until it looked like something from a magazine spread I could never afford to subscribe to. I strung warm lights across the balcony railing. One bulb flickered. I replaced it. I did not want even the lights to fail tonight. The cake sat in the refrigerator. Vanilla frosting. Simple. No inside joke. Just words piped carefully across the top. Happy birthday and anniversary, Tyler. At 7 o'clock, I changed into a navy blue dress. Nothing dramatic. Nothing desperate. I dabbed perfume behind my ears and waited. At 8, I lit the candles. At 9, I checked my phone and sent a message. I'm waiting. No reply. At 9:30, I called. 5 rings. Voicemail. At 10:35, an email arrived. Not a text. An email. Sorry. Big client emergency. I have to stay at the office. We will make it up later. That was it. No apology. No thank you. No mention of the table I was sitting at alone. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. The candles burned down into shallow wax pools and went out one by one. The room smelled faintly of smoke and wine that no one drank. I did not cry. I did not scream. Something inside my chest simply shifted, like furniture being moved in a room I thought I knew by heart. I stood up, folded the napkin I had prepared for him, and placed it back in the drawer. I wrapped the raw meat and put it in the freezer. I took down the lights. I wiped the table. I boxed the night away as if it had never existed. I went to bed after midnight, still wearing the dress. The fabric twisted uncomfortably under my back. I did not change it. I did not deserve comfort that night. That is what my mind told me. I let it speak. I slept badly. When I woke up, the other side of the bed was cold and untouched. The next morning, I went to work like nothing had happened. No message from Tyler. No call. By the noon, the silence had weight. It pressed against my ribs. At 12:23, I called his office. The receptionist hesitated before answering. "Oh," she said slowly. "Tyler resigned 3 days ago." He did not leave forwarding information. 3 days. I stood in the hallway outside the copy room, holding my phone, while the sound of a printer jammed behind me. In that moment, memories rearranged themselves with brutal clarity. Late nights. Missed dinners. The way he had already checked out while still sleeping beside me. He had not stayed late. He had already left. And I, his wife of 8 years, had been the last person to know. I drove home with my hands locked tight around the steering wheel, bracing for something I could not yet name. When I unlocked the apartment door, the silence felt different. Thicker. Permanent. Then I saw the shoe rack. The second row was empty. Tyler's brown leather shoes were gone. That was when I understood. This was not an accident. This was not work. This was a decision, and whatever came next would change everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the quiet ways people erase you from their lives. I did not call Tyler right away. I stood in the apartment for a long minute, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the distant traffic below. The place looked the same. The couch, the lamp, the framed photo from our second anniversary, when we still smiled with our whole faces. Everything was still there, except him. I walked into the bedroom slowly, as if moving too fast might trigger something worse. The closet door was open. Half the hangers leaned awkwardly to one side. His gray duffel bag lay on the bed, unzipped, mouth gaping like it had been rushed. A navy suit was folded inside. A silk tie I had never seen before. A pair of brand new dress shoes, tags still attached. He never wore those to regular meetings. My stomach tightened. "Tyler?" I called out, even though I already knew the answer. No response. I heard movement then, the soft scrape of a zipper. He He stepped out from the bathroom, holding a toiletry bag, calm and annoyingly unhurried. He looked at me the way you look at someone you barely recognize in a grocery store aisle. "You are back," he said flatly. Not hello, not where were you, just that. "What are you doing?" My voice sounded too steady for how my hands felt. He placed the bag into the suitcase and zipped it shut. The sound was final, deliberate. "I'm moving," he said. I accepted a new position. My brain stalled. Moving where? Albuquerque. The word hung in the air like smoke. "You quit your job," I said slowly. "You moved, and you did not say a word to me." He did not answer. Instead, he reached into the side pocket of his bag and pulled out a thin folder. He placed it on the dresser between us, aligned perfectly, like a presentation. "Divorce papers." The room tilted. "What is this?" I asked. Tyler finally looked at me fully then. His eyes were cold. Not angry, not guilty, just resolved. "You are no longer the wife I need," he said. The sentence landed like a slap. "What does that even mean?" I whispered. He exhaled through his nose as if tired of explaining something obvious. "You put work first," he said. "The house is dusty. You only cook on weekends. You do not prioritize me anymore." For a moment, I wondered if I had stepped into the wrong apartment, the wrong marriage. "I work," I said. "So do you. I pay half the rent. I cook when you come home early. You never tell me when you will be late. You always have excuses," he snapped. A real wife does not need reminders. A real wife. The words burned. I laughed once, sharp and bitter. "You talk like I sit around all day. You eat before you come home. You tell me not to touch your desk. And now you blame me for not serving you? That was your choice," he said. "I made mine." He lifted the suitcase and turned toward the door. "That is it?" I stepped in front of him. "After 8 years? "I do not owe you anything," he replied, brushing past me without hesitation. The door clicked shut behind him. The sound echoed through the apartment, clean and final, like a courtroom gavel. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor, still holding the folder. My hands shook, but my face stayed dry. No tears came, just a hollow pressure behind my ribs. 2 days later, the building management office called. "Mrs. Helena," the woman said politely, "we received a request to terminate the lease." I closed my eyes. "From whom?" "From Mr. Tyler. He stated that he no longer resides at the property and requested the remaining occupant vacate by the end of the month." No conversation, no warning, no decency. That night, I opened the desk drawer we used to share. Buried beneath old manuals and expired warranties were receipts. The couch, the refrigerator, the dining table. Almost everything was under my name. Tyler had taken clothes, shoes, a laptop. He left the life. The divorce papers sat on the table for 3 days. Every time I walked past them, I stopped. Not because I wanted him back, but because I wanted a reason to make sense. None appeared. On Saturday evening, my phone buzzed with a notification from an old group chat. High school reunion. 18 years. Craft brewery downtown. I had already paid the reservation fee. I almost did not go. Then I caught my reflection in the mirror. Tired eyes. Straight posture. Something stubborn still standing. I put on a simple black dress. Pulled my hair back. Not to impress anyone, just to remind myself I still existed. The brewery was loud. Laughter. Glasses clinking. Old names thrown around like confetti. I hovered near the entrance until someone said my name. "Helena?" I turned. Nathan stood there with a half smile and a beer in his hand. He used to play bass in the school band. Now he had stubble and a calm presence that felt earned. We talked, sat in the back. He mentioned his divorce, his daughter. No drama, no bitterness. When he asked about Tyler, I said, "We are getting divorced." He nodded, changed the subject. I appreciated that more than I could explain. Driving home that night, an old song came on the radio. It was not right, but it is okay. I laughed softly. Of course, all those years I had told myself I needed to try harder, be more understanding, be less demanding. Now I saw it clearly. I had been shrinking to fit someone who had already left. Sunday morning, my phone rang. "Tyler, I have informed the leasing office," he said. "You should start packing." "You did not ask if I had somewhere to go," I replied calmly. "You are an adult. Figure it out." I paused, then said, "Good. I will sign." Silence. "And do not call again," I added. "Do not talk to me like I am still keeping your life in order." I hung up. I picked up the pen, signed my name. No hesitation, no tremor. Clarity feels quiet when it arrives. And I did not know it yet. But Tyler believed this was the end of the story. He was wrong. The first week after the divorce papers were filed passed quietly. Too quietly. I moved through my days on autopilot. Work, coffee, silence. The apartment felt larger without Tyler's voice filling the corners. Not emptier, just clearer, like dust settling after a long renovation you never asked for. Then the message came. It was an email. Of course it was. The subject line had only one word. Proof. I stared at it for several seconds before opening it. My pulse stayed even. That surprised me. The attachment loaded slowly. A scanned document. White margins. Heavy stamp at the bottom. A marriage certificate. Groom, Tyler Robert James. Bride, Marissa Ellis Whitmore. Registered in Bernalillo County, New Mexico. Date, one day after our divorce was finalized. One day, before I could finish processing that detail, my phone rang. Tyler, I answered without greeting him. You saw it, right? He said. His voice carried a sharp edge of triumph, like a man stepping onto a stage. I got remarried. I said nothing. Life is good again, he continued. Better than it has been in years. I leaned back against the kitchen counter and let him speak. Men like Tyler always reveal the truth when they think they are winning. Her name is Marissa, he said. She is 36, same age as you, but completely different. Mature, gentle, beautiful, the kind of woman people admire. He paused, waiting for a reaction. I stayed silent. She is the only daughter of the Whitmore family, he added. You know the real estate chain in Santa Fe. Her parents built us a house near the Southern Hills. And the job? He laughed softly. They helped me step into an executive vice president role at the company. Finally, someone sees my potential. So that is why you needed the divorce so fast, I said evenly. Not just that, he replied. I could not keep living with a woman who put work before her role as a wife. The words did not sting anymore. They felt clinical, predictable, and we are expecting a baby girl, he said. Marissa is 3 months pregnant. Each sentence was meant to cut. Instead, they landed flat. I ended the call without responding. I stood there for a moment, holding my phone, replaying the name he had said. Marissa Whitmore. The name stirred something faint and uncomfortable in my memory. Not jealousy. Recognition. I opened my laptop and typed it into Facebook. Her profile appeared immediately. The woman in the photos was flawless. Blonde waves falling perfectly around her shoulders. Blue eyes sharpened by careful makeup. A smile practiced to convey warmth without vulnerability. I scrolled. On the 10th photo, my breath caught. It was not her face. It was her eyes. I recognized them instantly. Marissa Ellis. She had gone to high school with me. Back then, she sat in the back row. Quiet. Thin. Squinting slightly as she walked down the hallway, head lowered. Her skin reacted badly to makeup. Her nose was flat. Her teeth slightly crooked. She used to get teased for them. Bunny teeth, someone had called them once. Loud enough for her to hear. I reopened the wedding photo Tyler had sent. The bride looked like a different person, but the eyes were the same. I called Lana that night. Do you remember Marissa Ellis? I asked. Lana laughed softly. Of course I do. Why? I told her everything. Tyler, the divorce, the remarriage, the house, the job. Lana did not sound surprised. She moved to New York years ago, she said. Studied art. Had a complete transformation. Nose, chin, jawline, eyes. People barely recognized her, but her personality never changed. Quiet, calculating, very strategic about who she attached herself to. I sat on the edge of my couch listening. There was a rumor, Lana added carefully. She was involved with an older married architect in Brooklyn. Then she moved back to New Mexico and opened an art gallery. Guess she leveled up again. I thanked her and hung up. That night, I stared at Tyler and Marissa's wedding photo on my screen. Everything in it gleamed. White flowers, white dress, perfect lighting, a life built on edits. A week later, an unknown number texted me. Helena, are you free? I need to talk. It is serious. I did not reply. 15 minutes later, the phone rang. Tyler again. Marissa gave birth, he said immediately. A baby girl. I waited. She does not look like me, he continued. Or Marissa. Not really. I closed my eyes. I thought she would take after someone in the family, he said, his voice thinning. But Helena, something feels off. Babies change, I said lightly. Maybe she will grow into it. I did a DNA test, he said quickly. She is mine. But I still do not understand. You laughed that night. You knew something, did you? I leaned back in my chair. Do you remember your high school graduation album? I asked. Silence. I found it while packing, I continued. It was at the bottom of your desk drawer, covered in dust. You went through my things? He snapped. I cleaned, I replied calmly, like you always asked me to. I described the photos. The boy with curly hair, acne, crooked teeth, squinting eyes. You never introduced me to your old friends, I said. You insisted on a small wedding. No teenage photos? No past. I changed because I was insecure, he said quietly. No, I replied. You changed because you hated who you were. Silence stretched. You cannot edit genetics, I added. You can erase photos. You can reshape faces. But your daughter carries what is real. He exhaled shakily. She will look like that? He whispered. She will look like herself, I said. And she deserves better than two parents ashamed of their own reflection. He hesitated, then spoke again. Marissa will not hold her, he admitted. Every time she looks at the baby's face, she turns away. Her mother had to step in. She says she is exhausted. She cries constantly. I felt something heavy settle in my chest. Not satisfaction, not pity for him, grief for a child. You once told me I failed as a wife because I would not sacrifice enough, I said. But the one failing now is you. I ended the call, blocked his number. I sat there for a long time staring at nothing. I did not win. I did not lose. I simply stepped away from a life built on denial. And I knew, with quiet certainty, that the reckoning had only just begun. Nearly a year passed after my last conversation with Tyler, not because I tried to forget him, but because the life I built afterward filled every space he left behind. I moved to a small apartment in Boulder, just 10 minutes from my office. The place had a narrow balcony overlooking green hills and enough sunlight to keep a few pots of herbs alive. For the first time in years, mornings did not feel like something I had to endure. I kept my job, but I reduced my hours. I stopped measuring my worth by exhaustion. I made coffee slowly. I breathed. I enrolled in a weekend art class and relearned how to sit quietly with myself without apologizing for it. Nathan and I stayed in touch. Nothing dramatic. No promises. Just quiet dinners and honest conversations. Two adults who valued peace more than performance. I never checked on Tyler. Life, however, has a way of updating you about people who once walked out of it. One afternoon in early autumn, I ran into Lana at a used bookstore. After a few casual exchanges, she leaned in and lowered her voice. You have not heard about Tyler, have you? I shook my head. Marissa is looking for a divorce attorney, she said. I felt no surprise. Apparently he cheated again, Lana continued. With a new hire at her company, Marissa found out months ago but stayed quiet for their daughter. Their daughter. She is almost 3 now, Lana added. And it gets worse. She showed me a message from a preschool parent group. A child crying. Teasing. Whispers. Your mom used to be ugly. My chest tightened. Marissa regrets having the baby, Lana said softly. She thought the child would inherit her edited beauty, but it is obvious now. The girl carries what was always there. I closed my eyes. Tyler and Marissa had built their lives on illusion, status, appearance, control. And when a child arrived carrying nothing but truth, the structure cracked. I left the bookstore shortly after and walked home through the park. The light filtered through the trees, golden and calm. I bought a croissant from the bakery on the corner and sat on a bench, watching the afternoon pass without urgency. My life now has no grand drama, no shocking twists, but it has rhythm, autonomy, a fullness I once thought I had to earn by shrinking myself. Sometimes I reflect on the 8 years I spent married, the sudden divorce, the humiliation, the quiet betrayal, and the moment I realized that being discarded was not the worst thing that could happen to me. Losing myself would have been worse. People sometimes ask if I forgave Tyler. I usually smile. I did not need to forgive anyone, I say. I just needed to stop living inside a lie that was never mine. Walking away without revenge did not make me weak. It made me free. And in the end, those who lived by denial were forced to face the only thing they could never escape. The truth. So let me ask you something. If you were abandoned for not being perfect enough, would you try harder to fit the mold that broke you? Or would you walk away and choose yourself? I know which choice finally let me breathe. And for the first time in years, I did not hesitate.